Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is FAR 160, chapter number 4. In today's video, we will look at share buyback and also redemption of debentures. So let's start with share buyback. Okay, now to understand share buyback, you have to look at it from the beginning. Say this is our company and we want to obtain fund. So we decided to sell shares. So the shares will be bought by investors. The investors will give us their money and will be the shareholders of the company. Now, share buybacks happens when the company decides to buy back the shares and return back the money invested by the investors. Okay, this will make the number of shareholders less, and the reason behind share buyback, one of it is to improve the demand and supply of shares. When there are too many shares being traded in the market, it's best for a company to buy some of it to make it more active. So when it is more active, this will increase the value of the shares, which will benefit both the company and also the shareholders. Another reason is when there is less number of shareholders, the EPS rate will be higher. And when the company pays dividend, each shareholders will enjoy more because the dividends will be divided with less number of shareholders. Okay, now it's time to learn how to record. Before that, you have to know that there are two things that happens when the company buys back the shares. One is when they cancel the shares. Another one is when they keep the shares as treasury shares. Let's look at the first one. This is our company again. This is one of our shareholders. Now, we buy back the shares and we return back the money. The shares now will be cancelled. Okay, it will disappear and the investors can no longer buy that shares he sold back from the company. This is what we call as cancelling the shares repurchase. Now let's see how to record. So please refer to page 90, example number 13, Seri Iskandar Berhad. So hit the pause button and read the question. So the question says that the company decided to buy back 2 million ordinary shares at a price of 1 ringgit and 50 cents each, and the shares are to be cancelled. So let's look at the journal entries. First, debit ordinary share capital. Why? Because you are buying back the shares from your shareholders. So debit reduce your equity. 2 million, 1 ringgit and 50 cents, so it's 3 million, and put it in temporary account called purchase of own shares. Now, this journal entry actually tells you that the ordinary shares was reduced because we purchased our own shares. The next line would be debit purchase of own shares and debit the payment to your shareholders. Okay, so debit purchase of own shares, credit bank 3 million. So there is a reduction of share capital with a value of 3 million. So we have to replace that. So we're going to utilize our retained profit. So retained profit is an equity. When you want to utilize it, you want to use it, you have to debit it and put it back into your ordinary share capital. So that's it. So you have replaced the amount of 3 million. So remember, like the previous video, when you reduce one part of capital, you have to replace it back. In this case, when you cancel the shares, we will use retained profit to cover it back. Okay, now let's move on to treasury shares method. Now this is from example 14 and 15 on page 92. So it is the same from Siputih Berhad, same case, but this time the company has decided to buy back 2 million at the price of 1 ringgit 50 cent and keep the shares as treasury shares. This is our company and this is the investor. So we buy back the shares. Of course, we have to return back the cash. Instead of cancelling it, we keep it as treasury shares. So when the time comes, the company can sell back the shares and get probably some profit from selling back the shares from the same investor or some other investors. Okay, now let's look at the journal entry. Debit treasury shares, credit bank. That's it. Okay, you buy the shares at 1 ringgit 50 cents, put it in treasury share accounts, and credit bank being the payment to the shareholders. So let's look at the statement of financial position. The current asset will be reduced by 3 million due to the payment made to the shareholders, and the treasury shares will be placed here under retained profit. Retained profit less 2 million treasury shares. This is the unit and this is the value. 2 million, 1 ringgit and 50. Okay, next. Still the same company. They have bought the shares and keep it as treasury shares, and now they decided to resell it. The time has come from that for them to resell it. So let's look at the transaction. This is the first transaction when we bought the shares. So to sell back the shares, you have to reverse the transaction. So debit bank, okay, we managed to sell it for 3 ringgit, so we receive a sum of money 6 million ringgit, and credit treasury shares. The value of the treasury shares is only 3 million. So there is some profit from your transaction. So that profit is actually the increase in the value of your ordinary share capital. But what if you only manage to sell it at RM1? So remember we bought it for 1 ringgit and 50 cents, but we managed to sell it for 1 ringgit only. So when you sell it at 1 ringgit, still the same thing, debit bank, but this time 2 million, we will receive 6 million because you only managed to sell it for 1 ringgit, and credit your treasury shares of 3 million. Okay, so the amount is not balanced. Okay, debit side and credit side is not balanced. So there is a loss of 1 million, which will be covered by your retained earnings. So that's it. It's not that difficult. So that's the end of share buyback. So I hope that you are not lost somewhere. So please watch the video again if you don't understand, because we're going to continue with redemption of debentures. So redemption of debentures, I can actually show you in 10 seconds, which will start now. Okay, remember what you learned previously. If you sell debentures, debit bank, credit debentures. What you need to do is reverse it when you do redemption. That's it. Okay. Okay, that's the end of this video. So again, guess the movies. I've included some clips in this video. So guess the movies, and if you manage to guess them correctly, ask a reward from your lecturer. And one more thing, can you find snooker balls hidden in this video? Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.